So I'm here again. This is part two of a couple friends that really sold their soul to the devil to try to get what they need from men, and it only turns into a horror show. Yeah, there's no blessing there. And again, one of them hardly could tell me the truth about anything when I first met her.
Oh
The
my
other one was
gosh. Yeah.
told jokes, but she was miserable, and she'd vexed her soul just about to death trying to get men to play God and get her needs met for men. So we all have grown up in lies. We've been lying children. And if you
Yes.
haven't read the Old Testament scriptures about being liars and lying children, what are little children? They're cunning, crafty, and deceitful, and that's why we have to put away childish thinking so we
Yeah.
can grow up in love. So go
Yeah.
for it.
Grow up in love. But, I didn't grow up in that atmosphere. I grew up in exactly what you're talking about, a mother. And no, this isn't to condemn my mom because she became a born again believer. But before the Lord, that's what she was, a woman who would sell for the sake of any man, even when she was married to my father. And so I grew up under that same.
Can I interrupt because I forgot to say
Yes,
that
yes.
because I wanted to camp out on that thing in particular. Because when you grow up with idolatrous women, they teach you to lie. They teach you to shut up. Children are by nature open. But all of us had our consciences carved by idolatrous women. Again, we're not condemning them. We turned into them.
Yeah.
But you actually live under that oppression. Shut up, you little child of the light. I'll kill you. I'll murder you. I will.
Yeah,
I will
because
abuse you
you're in the
emotionally. I
way.
won't talk to you for 5 days because our mothers did
Idolatry.
not love the truth and love
Yeah.
the light. And
Idolatry, yeah, sitting on the throne. I remember the first time I read that scripture in Ezekiel 16. It says, "You sit on the throne." That as it called it in the woman the imperious whore. Now that is, I lived under that, the woman dominating, getting her needs met, looking to men, deviously looking to take the life of other men. So I
because
became,
you're
that's the
looking for
woman I
man's
was.
salvation, not God's. That's what we're
Yes.
talking about. The curse
Chasing.
of looking to men to play God.
Yes.
You take those men out.
Yes. So here's in Hosea, there's a couple scriptures I was thinking about, but the one it says, "You'll chase after your lovers and not be able to catch them. She'll look for them and she'll say, 'I'll go back to my husband at first, for then I was better off than now.'" And that's the spirit I was raised under. That's the spirit I had with men, is gunpoint and constantly seeking to take life, not be a lover and giver. It was to take from others.
Sniffing up the wind, and I think even a lot of women that are married are sniffers of the wind,
Even in your
because
marriage,
they're still looking
yes,
for
become
salvation in idolatry, not in Jesus Christ.
Yes, and so I remember the first thing you said to me, Cece, was, "With all you're getting, get understanding." And you were trying to help me look to the Word to gain understanding
To touch your sorrowful knee.
Yes. And so there's another one where it says that the woman who hunts for life, she hunts for the precious life. It says her feet don't stay in her own home. And I was extremely discontented. That's where I started making connections to my own sin, to where I was at with the Lord. I was hunting constantly. I'm discontent with this. This doesn't make me happy. And one of our friends one day, she says to me, she goes, "You know what? You need to love the Lord more than you want the love of a man." And when I would hear that, it would just make me cringe, because I believed I couldn't get that. That all in Jesus wouldn't give me everything I needed, because I went from one to the other. You're going to give me what I need. In man was my salvation.
It's about what you have to gain, not loving that man's soul. I want to just say another
go
thing
ahead.
that I hope I can remember it, about loving a man's soul and instead of living with him after gain, and I don't remember what it was, so go ahead.
Yeah, just the constant taking. And so there was one day we
I know what it is.
Oh.
There's a scripture that says, and we should always refer to that because people might not know what we mean because we're referring to scriptures and they don't know that. So there's a scripture that says, when a man is inactive, a woman, what are we inactive in? We're inactive in touching our fear and unbelief and hearing from God.
Yes.
We don't pick up the phone of the Holy One who not only knows all of the tests, he's got all the answers to the tests. So what we bury our head in the sand about is actually our fear and unbelief. So when we become inactive, when we are spiritually inactive, then we go into a dimension of lust, which lust for sports, lust for movies, lust for food, lust for whatever demonic thing there is to lust after, out of order thing that goes south, whether it's too much food, too much whatever, I don't want to refer to too much here, but we've seen a lot of people go south on a lot of very dark things.
Yeah.
And so we'll think that it's that problem. Oh, I'm just an overeater, I'm just bad, I just eat too much food. Well, what if that's just the diversion, whatever lust it is, to not actually hearing from God, the God of creation, who made us, and this is another thing that we were made to love God with all of our heart, mind, and strength, to be passionate, to know his passion and to be known by that passion. And we were made to be our brother's keeper. Anything outside of that is what we're selling our own soul. We're traders. We're traders in our own heart. That the flesh woman has become the traitor to the spiritual woman, and we don't fight that battle. And we all had our mothers make us pay, made all their children's pay, we divert to everybody in our path pays through our silence. Indifference is probably one of the most hateful, vengeful spirits there are, is just indifference. It's go to hell, I don't even care about you enough to talk to you. I think indifference is actually one of the most vengeful spirits there actually is. And so the inactivity of lust.
Well, I had a scripture come to me about the imperious whorish woman who I have been. She says she wipes her mouth after she fulfills her lust and then says, I haven't done anything wrong. That's the cunning craftiness that you've talked about. And for me, I was a liar and a hider. I always tried to hide what I did that I knew was wrong and pretend like I was doing okay. But the Lord and everybody could tell. I walked around like the emperor with no clothes on. And
I'm telling you, in all of our, just going to give you a short lowdown for you. You haven't ever heard from Betty or Shannon before because they've done videos. Can I bring this up?
Sure.
Because Betty, it's cost us life. Maybe not, but Betty and I, our idolatry has cost us human life.
Yes.
I didn't have an abortion, but we all hurt people when we're in our idolatry. None of us we have dead bodies in the past no matter what, even if it's just through silence and indifference.
Yes.
So in Betty's case, there was serious effects on human life because of her idolatry, and I'm not saying any of this to blame her, because like our parent, we were seriously affected by our mothers living in idolatry. So we played that out, and again, Shannon has really connected to her mom. I actually was able to love my mom and be forgiving,
love
because
my mother in a right way.
Because who is it that we can't forgive and that we're gonna be given over to the tormentors for, right? So, go ahead, Betty. What were you gonna say? I wanted to bring that up. This maybe cost Betty and I a little more.
Yeah,
and the expense of being idolaters has been more disastrous. Not that it hasn't cost you, because you were killing yourself with anorexia.
Exactly. Well, and looking at how you do wound someone else's soul, and that was I think that became the turning point when I said she is the mouth of hell, that proverb that says that. And when I looked and examined what I had done in the pain I had caused other men, that my taking life from them, and it cost them something too. And when I saw how I had affected their life, that was the turning point for me.
You make a pact
You make a path
when you
for others too.
yeah, and a
Path of
path.
You make a
destruction.
deal with the devil.
A deal with the devil. And in my case, I made a deal with the man that I married that I didn't love. I won't bring up your sin if you don't bring up my sin.
We'll live in the dark
We
together.
live in the dark together.
And the truth is,
And I didn't even tell him the truth about my sordid life.
it's why it was
Yeah,
hard for me to
that's-
walk in the light for a while with both of you, because I've known both of them for
Yes.
years,
Yeah.
until they actually fell in love with the light and fell in
Yes.
love with the truth. There was a huge barrier between them and I. They
Yes.
protected themselves. It's like protecting yourself from God.
Yeah.
So
And
you
you know, I always knew that I should tell him the truth, but I chose not to because I knew it would cost me the relationship.
Yeah.
And
That's where
I
gifts
Wow.
pervert judgment.
Yes. And when I finally, after about 5 years, knew that I wasn't going to move on with the Lord unless I started telling the truth, it wasn't because I loved the truth, but it was because I did want Jesus in my life. And I told him the truth, and it cost me the relationship. And in my heart, I knew it would cost me the relationship to walk in the light.
Mhm.
You know, from the day you moved in with him, that you had to be a
Yes.
liar
Yes.
to live peacefully, like there
Exactly.
is peace, right?
Exactly.
Let's live
Right.
in let's live in the cunning and craftiness of them
Peace.
together and walk in the dark, and it'll be total bliss.
And there's a scripture in Jeremiah that says, they say peace, peace, but there is no peace.
so
That's
one,
how I lived.
and one of the things I was going to say is meeting so many women and knowing myself, a lot of people do not have answers for the suffering in their life. What happened when I met Jean is I understood why I suffered. I was walking in the light of my own sparks, and I'd made a bed of sorrow. I was wise in my own conceit, and I was actually playing Lord of my own life. I was doing my own thing my own way. I wasn't touching my fears. I wasn't admitting I was unbelieving or fearful. And so I wasn't having a relationship with the doctor, the surgeon that has the power to circumcise our heart and convert our soul.
Yes.
And I've seen now women live and die because there's a scripture that says, the things my soul has refused to touch have become my sorrowful meat. So it's very easy to live in the desert with the voice of a stranger when you've made your God your belly, your mind is set on earthly things, and you're willing to take risks. So what is loving the darkness? Men love darkness more than the light. They don't come into the light. They don't want to see things the way they really are because they want to be imperious whore. I sit as queen. My judgment is God's judgment.
Yes.
You know, that was when I met Jean, I was really done with playing the part of the imperious whore who thought I had all together. Even today, I walk in the light with everything I do that has any kind of consequences, or even in the wisdom of God I think I'm giving people. I'll actually talk to Jean or other women I trust to not be condemners and fault finders, but women that actually understand the nature of who sin is, because sin isn't just sin. Sin is a he. Sin is a he that talked to Eve in the garden.
Yeah.
So the spirit of indifference, the spirit of fear, the spirit of unbelief is actually a he. He is sin. And I was listening to this song, and it's almost a really good description of the devil, because I listened to the 70s music. I was old enough. I didn't ever listen to the words, though. I was too lost in a pretense world of lust to even hear the lyrics in any songs, but it was referred to in a documentary I was watching last night, and so the guy's really bitter and hateful and vengeful towards a woman who didn't love him. And it's like, every step you take, every move you make, everything you do, everything you say, I'll be watching you. And I thought, that's exactly who Satan is.
Oh yeah.
He can't get in our head.
Wow.
He can send his little imps to whisper to us. And really, that's what happens. He sends his imps on a mission to whisper to us, and we yield to the voice of the stranger.
Yes.
So our whole calling gets robbed from us.
Yes.
I don't know if we want to make a part 2 or if we're done, or if you guys have more to say. This can be.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that her end is as bitter wormwood, and that's the result of what you're talking about.
Of
The
sticking
end,
your head in the
and-
sand
yeah, that you're
with your fear and your
oh my
unbelief.
gosh, exactly, because there is no answer.
My sheep
in
hear
that.
my voice, the voice of a stranger, they don't follow it. So when we're getting our own needs met our own way and walking in the dark with our own hidden wisdom, we don't believe there's a bit of sorrow. We don't believe we're making
That's
a bit of sorrow
right.
for our own children.
Yeah,
We think we're getting our needs met,
Yeah.
but all of our vision is perverse.
And we don't have
We don't
any
see.
peace
No.
either.
No.
yeah.
So I'm going to be talking to some other women that I think have some valuable things to say. Because even again, what I realized with Michael, the one who's in prison, the Lord taught me how to see past him and not yield to the oppressors of dark forces that lived in him anymore. Because there's no greater power than love. And when you're actually loving somebody's soul purely out of a pure, sincere heart, you are getting not only places with God, but you're doing a good job of warding off Satan himself, the one who's the stealer of peace. Because to live in lies, there's no peace when you live in a world of lies. So this may be the end. We may make a 3. I'll let you know in just a minute.